next thing we want to talk about is this is big news that happened earlier, and that is that we have wanted to see Roman Krenikov in person at the CrossFit Games since that guy came onto the scene.
Oh, man.
He's qualified. Let's see, 2018 he qualified, couldn't make it, couldn't get a visa. 2019 earned an invitation, couldn't get a visa, couldn't make it. 2020 qualified, able to compete in the first part of the games because those were virtual. Qualifies again in 2021, couldn't make it because he couldn't get a visa. That has now been, that hurdle has been cleared. Roman got his visa approved. Snorri Barron put that on his Instagram. Roman put it on his Instagram that he's finally gotten that. I know Snorri got Roman some help here in the United States in order to make that happen. Mm-hmm. But Roman Krenikov, assuming that this guy takes care of business. Now, he needed the last chance online qualifier last year in order to get in. But you got to think with the amount of talent that he has, that he will find a way to get to the games. And I think the competition will be better off for it. And congratulations to Roman. I'm glad he got that done. I'm looking forward to seeing that guy compete in person because I have only had the pleasure of having that happen once, and that was at the Filthy 150, the one that Medeiros won and kind of exploded onto the scene in 2019, which seems like 5 years ago.
Which kind of puts the fact that Roman finished second at that event into a little bit different perspective, right? Given that same year, Justin went on to finish third and then follows it up with the first. I have a Inside the Leaderboard coming out about it wasn't a planned Inside the Leaderboard. It was like this came out, this idea came up, and I hit up one of our producers like, hey, I think we should do this. And he's like, yeah, I think so too. And because this is. A lot of people will probably sit there and say like, all right, well now we can see what he can do. I mean, in reality, that's not entirely honest as far as to the competition resume that he's built for himself. We know what he can do.
Yeah.
And now it's just time for him to go showcase that on the sport's biggest stage. He is an animal. He has put up a tremendous amount of high-level performances over the last 4 years since he burst onto the scene. So, and just kind of walk people through this. Shows up in 2018. BKG is the heavy favorite to win that Europe Regional. Roman comes out of nowhere. First appearance ever. He's only done the Open 1 year prior. Wins by 74 points. Beats then eventual third-place finisher Lucas Högberg by nearly 50 points. And then, obviously he has the visa issues. He can't make it to the States. We don't get to see him compete. A little bit of that gets mixed up over the next few years with all the, tumultuousness in the structure of the sport. But one of the things that, if you talk to Snorri, and we're hoping to have him on the show soon, that was important behind the scenes was building up this resume for him as a professional athlete, right? To legitimize his efforts to get a visa as to why. And he did that. He went out and competed often. So much so that I would say by the end of 2019, he was a little burnt out on the sanctional scene to where, his performance slipped a little bit in Reykjavik and French Throwdown. And I think he was literally just doing those to show up and kind of put stamps on his passport. But he's had double-digit podium finishes in CrossFit competition, more so if you consider non-sanctioned CrossFit events like the IF3 type stuff. He's on a 5-event win streak, going from last chance qualifier. There was, I believe, the Russian Nationals for the IF3. He's got the Madrid CrossFit Championship, the Butchers Classic, and Dubai. Like he's on fire right now, and this is in the process of him retooling his game. Where, he's 10 kilos heavier than when he first showed up on the scene because he's been trying to kind of build up a strength base that is
the engine's no problem.
The engine's no problem, and there, there's if you talk to some high level coaches, there are areas of hey, if we can sacrifice 1% here, 2% here, we can gain 5 to 10% here, and that will better balance out our performance across the board. So he's been working on his strength numbers, his barbell numbers, and all those things that can help bolster him where he struggled in the past. That could be a recipe for greater success, and it's looked that way in the last 6 to 8 months so far in competition. And the double-digit podiums is great. He's beaten a ton of the big names in competition as well, but also he wins events. You talk about that endurance and some of the general capacity. He wins events in dominating fashion to the point where behind the scenes in talking to athletes, there is a general consensus around what events are quote-unquote Roman events.
Yeah.
Like you talk to even some of the biggest names and, I won't reveal who, but you talk to them behind the scenes and they write off events as like, oh, Roman's going to crush that.
Yeah.
He's got that. I'm fighting for second.
Mm-hmm.
And that is important because if he gets to the games, that general sentiment now carries over to the biggest stage, and that's going to shake up the leaderboard in terms of mixing things up at the top.
Yeah, and the guy who I think is doing, should be doing backflips over this is Pat Vellner.
And Fikowski.
Those two, because it's like they are the only guys who are consistently able to take some points away from Medeiros. They need help. And Vellner said this when Fraser was doing his thing. It's like, maybe I can get him in an event, but I need 3 or 4 other guys to get him in an event in order to make up any sort of points that I might be trailing by or do any significant damage to his chances of winning. And I think now you can say the same thing about Medeiros. And that's why the more guys like Roman Krenikov that Vellner and Fikowski can get into the mix, the better chance they have of making it a close competition when we get to Madison. A lot needs to happen until then. I get that. More people can emerge, injuries happen, things like that, surprises. But assuming Roman takes care of business, because the guy hits home runs, he will knock them out of the park.
I mean, and that's a double-edged sword too, because you look at where Roman excels. He does great with some just the grunt work, odd object stuff that Vellner excels at. But he's also great at some of like the monostructural stuff and some of like the longer time domain things that Medeiros has typically excelled at as well. And so really it's going to come down to, all right, who can capitalize the best, keep Roman at bay in the moments where I'm going to shine and put this Russian bear between me and my opposition.
Yeah.
Because you look at some of there are, basically in the last 3 calendar years, there are 1, 2, in the last 2.5 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 events where Roman has won double-digit events at, 3 of which he's won 5 events.
Wow.
And all but one of them he's won, and that was a second at Filthy 150. He won 3 at Dubai. He won 3 at the Butchers Classic. He won 5 at the Madrid CrossFit Championships. He won 2 in the Last Chance Qualifier when there were only 4 events. He won 5 at the Filthy 150, and he won 5 at the Italian Showdown. At the Filthy 150, he was going up against Medeiros. Italian Showdown, he's going against Olsen, Scott Panchik, big names there. In Dubai, that's always a loaded field. And Madrid and Butchers, he's going up against a ton of the top European talent. I mean, I would be very surprised if he wasn't top 10 at the games this year. If he's a healthy Roman isn't top 10. And if he's in the top 10, his recipe for success has always been to win events. He's going to balance out his weaknesses with home runs. Yeah. And home runs and top 3 finishes like that are going to, put a few of those top athletes hoping for a podium spot in the blender.
Yeah, I think that this, like I said, makes the games better. It makes it more competitive. It really helps guys like Vellner and Fikowski. And then I think too, another guy whose name we've thrown out there periodically, we have to wait and see what he looks like now as we go through the game season, is Ricky Garrard.
Yeah.
He looks anything close to what he did in 2017. That's another guy who now can help out. And I think it's ironic that he could help out Vellner, maybe close that gap a little bit. But I'm so excited to have Roman Krenikov, the potential of having him in the games. It will make it, because I think the worry is that, and I might be in this camp, is that, and we talked about this as one of our questions going into the season. Afraid is the wrong word, because that means that I don't want this to happen, and that's not what I'm saying. But it is looking to me like Justin Medeiros is poised to sort of reach to pull away from everybody. And I don't know how much time guys like Vellner and Fikowski have left to possibly catch him.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it on their own. They need as much help as possible.
Yep.
So bringing back Roman Krenikov now, him getting there, and if Ricky Garard winds up qualifying, makes the men's competition, I think, a little more interesting than it was when we closed things out last year in Madison, and it looked like, well, Medeiros is now just going to.
I think
it's his now.
I think Khrennikov is a much bigger deal than.
I would agree with that too.
Not to poo-poo the return of Ricky, but the sheer body of work over the last 4 years, for obvious reasons, is much more in the favor of Roman, given his ability to compete and the reputation that he's built amongst people outside of the games in high-level competitions. Interestingly enough, you look at the way semifinals are lined up too, like, Con Porter, some of those athletes that may not necessarily be in the mix individually now, also helps open things because it's not a guarantee that Ricky's going to make it.
Right.
You look at down in, I guess, the Australia, like Pacific, what is the formal?
And because just before we go any further here, Roman would compete in Asia.
He would,
and Ricky, even though he is here training with the Underdogs crew, I think he's here right now. I'm not sure if he's still here, but he was here. But he would still, even if he were, he'd still have to go to Australia. Like, it's still the country of your citizenship.
Yeah, you look at the Oceania and the Torian Pro, you have Royce Dunn, Jay Crouch, Baden Brown, James Newberry, Luke Fiso. Those are the top 5 right now. Con Porter was 6th. He's gone team. We were not really sure what James is up to this year. If he's making a full comeback, a full run on it. It was a tight point spread to begin with only 29 points separating 4th from 1st. And you assume Ricky is going to be in the mix there, but it's no guarantee.
Yeah.
It's no guarantee. And I think Roman last year really, really did not benefit from the online format.
That was going to be my next question is, he didn't qualify out of semis, but that was a virtual competition. Seems to me that he is a guy that does not prefer. I don't think any athlete does, but I think some do better than others, and I think he's one that just is in that first category of like, this is not who I am. He's like a Fikowski. Fikowski would much rather be out there on the floor. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And it just so happened that, it was a tight point spread between him, Ilan, and Soledov. And Soledov is a guy that is an online format wizard.
Right.
Like, he crushes the type of programming that shows up in the online format. And for Krenikov, really what it was the strength event with the snatch, that was ascending ladder, high reps, high weight, where he finished 9th. Everything else was, 4th, 3rd, 1st, 3rd, 4th, which that was the one little blemish for him that kept him out of the game. But then he ran away with by winning the last chance qualifier, so he got there anyways. But man, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like prior to 2018 or prior to 2021, the women's division was highly competitive, highly engaging. I think a lot of people were really excited because it felt, for so long Matt was just going to run away with it. And now suddenly in his absence, it feels like the men's division has just like retooled and found this new stride of like opportunity amongst a variety of characters, including some that are, finally back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? One last thing I'll say about this is credit to Snorri for helping Roman out and knowing what he needed to do in order to get those hurdles cleared so Roman could get over here. So congratulations to Snorri. I know he worked really hard on that.
Congrats to the Backlund management team. That was a 100%. Long time coming, and yeah, for sure. It's just I know how much work they put in behind the scenes to get that done. It's a huge relief.
Yeah. So yeah, congratulations again to Roman Krenikov and his whole team. Best of luck this season, and I, for one, hope that we see him in Madison. Great character, great kid, great competitor, and will make the competition that much more fun to watch on the men's side.